What's going on, everybody? Dakota here with all things motocross and WD840MX highlights. Just thought I'd do something different today, do a little review and break down the San Diego Supercross. So let's get into it. All right, so off the bat, wow, Tomac and Jett. I didn't think we were going to get that battle this early into the season, but it was pretty awesome to see. Both guys didn't get a good start. Both came through the pack. You know, I was keeping an eye when I was watching the broadcast. I was looking out of the peripherals of the camera's view, and I could see Jett in front of Tomac, and then the next corner you could see Tomac in front of Jett. So you can kind of see they were swapping back and forth, which was cool. And then, of course, we got that view finally of them coming through the pack, and Tomac just railing that outside. I mean, there's nothing more Eli Tomac than doing that, right? To do that on that kind of track in the sand in Supercross. Yeah, I mean, that's him. He just finds amazing corner speed where no one else does. And, yeah, that ended up being the difference. He stayed in front of the Jett the rest of the race. So, overall, such a cool race. No crazy passes or anything once they got out front together. But that was a big statement. And, man, Eli Tomac is for real. So, the first point I kind of want to make is something I thought that was good to see out of Tomac was he was making really quick passes coming through the pack. You know, obviously when he's in beast mode, he does that, but I think if there's one critique in the early laps, he seems to have maybe a harder time getting around people or as quickly as like a Ken Roczen, which is on the other side of the spectrum. He gets around everybody extremely quickly. So it seems like that early race intensity is on point along with the speed, obviously. So that was a really good sign for me to see out of Tomac. And, hopefully we keep seeing that going forward, because to come through from, you know, 8th or so past Jett and then win a race like that, incredible, especially at his age and where he's at in his career. Who would have thought? He's not supposed to be up there winning and beating Jett like that. So, yeah, that was a really cool thing to see for me. One thing that was interesting is as Tomac and Jett were coming through the pack, there's at one point where I believe Tomac was about 2 spots ahead of Jett, and this was after he railed that outside sand turn. So I thought, wow, okay, maybe Jett's just not feeling it. But by the time Tomac got behind Roczen and Webb, I mean, Jett was right there again. So the amount of time that Jett was able to make back up there in the early stages of the race was pretty incredible. And they obviously both went around Cooper Webb at pretty much the same time. And then Jett was right on Eli. And for a moment there, I was like, oh, this kind of looks like Super Motocross. You know, Charlotte second moto, Vegas first moto, where Jett just kind of hangs in there, and then the last few laps he gets the pass done. But to my surprise, Eli hung in there and just showed incredible speed, great lines, just carrying his speed around the turns and railing them, which is what he does best. So, yeah, I mean, what a battle. I think we've been waiting for this kind of battle for a long time. And like I said, we got in Super Motocross a couple times, but, you know, both guys were coming back from injury. They probably weren't in their best fitness, probably not 100%. Jett still got the best of Tomac in those situations, except for that first moto at Charlotte. But, you know, to see it, they both came in with a proper, you know, build up to Anaheim 1 and everything like that. That was really cool to finally see them up front together and duel it out where both guys are at on their game, maybe not 100% with their bikes, but you know what I'm getting to. They were there and they battled, and that was awesome. I think one thing that kind of inspired me to do this video, and please, if you don't want another guy talking about the races and breaking them down, because I know there's plenty of them, just please let me know in the comments. I can stick with highlights. You can tell me, hey man, just stick with highlights, and that's totally fine with me. But one thing I noticed that maybe I didn't hear too many people talk about was, you know, the last 3 laps of the race, Tomac kind of stretched it out just a little bit. I mean, just enough to where he could be comfortable. He can make a little bobble, and Jett wasn't going to pass him, right? Which up until that point, if he did make a mistake, Jett probably would have snuck around him. So those last 3 laps with him pulling a little bit of a gap, you know, I was like, okay, that's interesting, right? Was it a fitness thing with Jett? I don't think so, but maybe Tomac was able to find something. Maybe he stepped it up those last 3 laps to maybe make a point. Or maybe Jett just made a few mistakes we didn't see, or a lapper. I don't know, but when he came down that last straight off the step-on, step-offs, I was like, wow, you know, Jett's not right on him. So he did something there at the end of the race that maybe proves a point, or maybe it was just, like I said, a mistake or something like that. So I thought that was really interesting to see just that little gap, right? Always looking for an edge, and especially at the end of the race like that. So something I'm going to keep my eye on in the future if similar situation happens. I thought it was really cool after the race to see the respect that they paid each other, right? Jett coming up, shaking hands, laughing. You can tell they just both really enjoyed that race. And I really hope to see more of that, because I think that's maybe something we've been missing in this whole sport in general, is like, you know, friendly rivalries. Not that they have to be best friends or anything, but it's just cool to see the respect, right? The tip of the cap, and to be able to laugh and be happy. You know, they're walking off in the tunnel together talking about Vince Freeze or something. So I definitely would like to see more of that, because I think it's just good for the sport. And, you know, they race clean with each other. And yeah, it's just something cool for me to see, right? You didn't see a whole lot of that really up until this point. So hope to see more of that going forward. So I went back after the race and looked at some times, because I wasn't sure how much they gapped Cooper Webb by once they got around him. I thought maybe 6-7 seconds, but Cooper finished 18.5 seconds behind Tomac. Now, granted, Cooper was sick, it sounds like, through the race, and has been sick. And but that's a huge margin, and I think you can kind of tell by the expression on his face. He knows he has a lot of work to do. Now, if there's anybody that can make it that kind of distance in Supercross, I do believe it's Cooper Webb, so I wouldn't count him out. I think, like he always says, if he can get out of the West Coast rounds with a decent position in the points, you know, he always has a chance. We know that. So, but I think it shows the speed and the intensity that Tomac and Jett had to be, you know, almost 20 seconds ahead of someone they passed roughly halfway through the race on a Supercross track, let alone an outdoor national. So that's pretty crazy. I thought that was an interesting fact that I wanted to share with you guys. You know, the whole thing came down to speed, really, between Jett and Tomac. And one thing that I saw, too, as I went back and just was kind of looking at lap times and stuff, was Tomac's fastest lap was a half a second faster than Jett's. And, you know, if Eli could have duplicated that lap a few more times, might not have been as good of a race as we believe it to be right now, right? So I think if Tomac can become a little bit more consistent in his laps, I think that's one thing maybe we've seen in the past, is he'll blow past everybody, but his laps can be a little bit up and down, where Jett's is very fluid, consistent. So, you know, if he can duplicate laps like that and string them together, you know, that's where he can do some serious damage. And, yeah, it's just going to be super interesting to see what happens going forward. I think we got 3 guys in Chase, Eli, and Jett that are pretty much the same speed right now, and they're only going to get better. And I think start position's just going to determine it. And what I am hoping for is that all 3 get a top 3 start, so that we can see, you know, an epic 3-way duel. And that's not to say that Anderson and these other guys can't get in on the battle, but I think that's something we'll see here pretty soon, and that's my hope at least. Touching on Chase Sexton, you know, a lot of people get on him for the small mistakes that he makes, or maybe even the big ones sometimes, but, you know, Eli Tomac did the exact same thing at round 1, right? Laying the bike over, and even a worse position, he was in the lead, right? And I think he would have run away with that race if he didn't crash, in my opinion. But I wouldn't count out Chase. You know, is he prone to some of these ups and downs a little bit? Yeah, but it's the beginning of the season. He's only 1 point, I believe, behind Tomac. And he's only going to get better, too. So if he gets out front and those guys are behind, or he gets a top 5 start, yeah, I think it's an even ball game for him. And I think he's going to rebound this coming weekend at Anaheim for sure. So a little bit of a bummer, but he showed that his speed is right there, right? Tomac came from last to 5th last week. Chase came from last to 6th this week. So it shows that the speed's right there. And if he gets up there with Tomac and Jett, that's going to be really interesting. So we'll see what happens. So kind of touching on those 3 guys again, when it comes to their speed and intensity, to me, it feels maybe a little bit similar to a Carmichael, Stuart Reed era, right? Where you just got 3 guys that they're just better than everyone else. And like I said, it doesn't mean that the Cooper Webbs and these other great riders can't get in there too, because the competition's way closer than it was back in Carmichael and Reed and Stewart's day. But, you know, we might get a really cool 3-way battle when it comes to just their speed. And so I'm really wanting to pay attention to see what happens with that, because who knows, man? We might get a treat this year where you get some other guys mixed in, but maybe it's primarily a battle of those three guys. And I think it just shows how important the starts are. I mean, if you get an 8th place start like Tomac and Jett did there around that area, and Chase is out front, they're probably not tracking down Chase. And then roles reversed. Chase isn't going to track down them. So really hoping they can all three dial in their starts, because that would just be an epic battle of mega proportions. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Anaheim 2 should be fun. It's not a triple crown this year. So we'll get another full main event. And yeah, just hoping those guys stay healthy and that they get their bikes figured out even more so that we can just see the gnarliest speed and pace we've ever seen in Supercross, because I think that's what we're getting to right now. So yeah, awesome for Eli. I mean, who would have thought at his age that he would be doing this? He's not supposed to be battling the new up-and-coming kid who is the most talented rider we've probably ever seen, who has the speed, has the fitness, has the finesse, has the technique. And then you got Eli doing his thing and still winning and showing that he's just as much of a favorite for this championship and any win on any day as anybody. So it'd be cool to see. And it's just good to see a battle between guys. If Jett would have won or if Chase would have won, that's all fine with me. I just want to see a battle. I don't want to see some dude running away with it. So yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. Let me know what you guys think of this video if you'd like to see me do it anymore. And yeah, let me know in the comments. Let me know what things maybe I didn't notice or things I should have talked about and I didn't. Just covering the 450s for now in these videos, keeping it nice and short. So yeah, just looking for any feedback I can. It's about 15 degrees in here. There's no insulation or AC in this shop. It's from like the 50s. And I am absolutely freezing. So I'm going to go. Please subscribe. Check out our new merchandise, our new shirts. And we will see you guys later.